Cinnabar Nick here, and I am back to talk about Big Brother 23. A lot, and I mean a lot, has happened in the last few days. And not all of it has been great. There's been some rather impressive gameplay, gotta admit. But there is one person who has had some behavior that I don't fully appreciate. And it's someone that I really liked. And, you know what, I usually try to go in order, but this time I'm gonna start by talking about the thing that bothered me the most the last few days. So it was after Noms. It's Brittany and Sarah Beth. And Derek X's plan is to backdoor Christian. Brittany and Sarah Beth are both pawns. But Tiffany has been having her eye on Sarah Beth for a while. Now, I know Sarah Beth kind of got herself into this position. But there are lines. And I feel like Tiffany crossed the line. So, the Jokers basically went on like a bully session against Sarah Beth, and Tiffany got involved. And she just suddenly gets it in her head that Sarah Beth and Kyland came in as a duo. Like, they're here as America's couple. And she can't get it out of her head. And it's just, I'm like, what are you doing, Tiffany? Like, there is an actual couple here. Christian and Alyssa are all over each other, day in and day out. And you want to go for someone you think is in a secret relationship? Why not go for the obvious one? So it's just like, I didn't like that. And then came the part I really had a problem with. Well, first she was like, Sarah Beth is lying about being in a relationship, and I'm like, how is that any of your business? People have lied about way worse on Big Brother, okay? And don't even get me started on Survivor. And then Tiffany was like, I'm more into girls than Sarah Beth. And I'm like, seriously? Like, that was so biphobic, that comment. It's like, Tiffany, do you think all bisexual people are just, like, thirsting over everyone on sight? Like, no. They can be attracted to males or females, and they just go through their attraction the same way everyone else does. So I did not like that comment at all, and I was very upset with Tiffany for that, for a solid day. Then I just was like, a good life lesson is that sometimes you have to accept an apology you may never get. I mean, I wouldn't be getting this apology. It would be, like, Tiffany just saying it was wrong of her to say that. I mean, she'd be talking to Sarah Beth or maybe talking to the cameras. But I was just like, look, I don't want to dwell on this because it'll just drive me insane. So I'm just like, I think I'm just going to try and let this go. And I decided to call it strike one. Just got 2 left. I was ready to move on. And then Tiffany gets back on her SB BS to Hannah. And Hannah is noticeably uncomfortable hearing this. Like, she is not okay. She's not fully okay with Tiffany being like, she's not really in a relationship. Like, Hannah, like, you can tell she's just thinking, like, so what? So, yeah, I appreciate Hannah for thinking that because, you know, Sarah Beth was just targeting her. So, Hannah has every reason to not like her, but, you know, Hannah sees that as a line, too, and she didn't want to cross that. And I respect Hannah for that. I really do. And I didn't go as far as to say this was strike two for Tiffany, but I'm like, you hit a foul ball. Wait, that would be strike two. Again, I just decided I'm going to try not to dwell on this too much because it'll just drive me insane. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about first and foremost, because that was the thing that I did not really like the most. Watermelon juice today. And before you ask, yes, I know. That winner from 2019, he very much liked watermelons. After he won, I straight up was like, I am not eating or drinking anything watermelon flavored for at least a month. I need a month off from watermelon. So Tiffany, like now I'm going to start to go in order of my notes. Like from here on, it's basically in the order that things happened. Tiffany was starting to get a little leery of Kyland and Xavier. She's like, I don't fully trust them. And the Kyland distrust grew hard and fast over the last few days. And she said that she would rather keep Derek X around, despite the cookout. And honestly, I want that too, because Derek X is playing a better game than... I think Derek X is playing the best game in the house at this point, honestly. There, I said it. A lot of people are saying Tiffany's playing the best game. Kyland's playing the best game, although I don't really hear that too much. I haven't heard that too much in the last few days. Obviously, some people are saying Christian's playing the best game just because he has the most wins. But yeah, that's what I think. I think Derek X is playing the best game in the house right now. I thought it then, when I wrote this, and I still think it now. Hannah said that if she won veto, she would keep noms the same and send Sarah Beth home. I forgot I had written that. But, I feel like Hannah has moved on from that a little bit. I don't think that's still her plan. But, I don't know. I'll need to go through the rest of my notes and see what I wrote as far as her changing her perspective. Excuse me. Sorry. Sarah Beth and Derek F talk. And Derek F is, at this point, definitely unaware that Christian is Derek X's real target. And I think possibly all of the Jokers are in the dark about that. Like, Brittany knows she's a pawn, but I don't think Derek X told her exactly who the real target was. And honestly, I feel like if you're going to pawn someone, especially for the third time, they should probably know. Like, I feel like that'd be better. Okay, I should not have clicked that. I'm sorry. Oh, maybe I should have. Whatever. Whatever. So, Christian is definitely a little suspicious that he is the target. And Tiffany and Claire kind of got in his head about it because Tiffany still wanted Sarah Beth out at this point in time. And Tiffany does try to steer Derek X more towards Sarah Beth. But she did not tell Alyssa that Christian was the backdoor plan. And Tiffany definitely knows about it. Knew about it. Because I'm talking in past tense here. And, she basically told Alyssa she's not concerned about Christian being the backdoor target. Probably because, like, she doesn't care too much if Christian goes. Although, now that I think about it, she kind of did. Because, like, I think Tiffany's son is actually named Christian. So she's got kind of a connection to him there. Like, I saw her son in her intro package. He's a kid. Christian is a grown man. You know, he's not your son. That there's a difference between the two. One is a kid, one is not. So, maybe don't obsess over Christian too much. Derek X tells Alyssa that Christian is not the backdoor target because he would become a huge target and he would lose Alyssa's vote. And he's actually not wrong about that because like the biggest fear that Derek X does have and that I have for him is that he will become the biggest target in the house. Because with Christian gone, Derek X will be the one with the most wins. He'll have the most wins in jury. So, that plus the fact that he's not in the cookout, it could make him a target. Which, I don't want. I love Derek X. I want him to win this game. I really do. And if he is able, I really screwed that sentence up. If he is able to win this season with the cookout still here, with that alliance there, if he is still able to win this season, I will be so impressed. Go away. Bug flying around. And then Christian and Alyssa are talking. And Alyssa's like, Derek X says you're not the backdoor target. And he says that I can use a veto on Sarah Beth if I win. And, you know, Christian is not overly comfortable with it, but he's like, if you feel comfortable, if you trust Derek X enough, you can use the veto. And at this point, I am now thinking, Alyssa has to win this veto. Pull Sarah Beth off the block. Christian goes up. And then it would be amazing. It would be the funniest thing. I was hoping that would happen. Tiffany tells Xavier that she would want the veto not used. And she says that he could encourage Alyssa not to use it if she wins it by saying that he's worried about Christian. And for a long time I was just thinking, okay, maybe Tiffany is still kind of on board with this because she has not let slip to any of the Kings that's Christian's team, that he might be the backdoor target. But here she kind of let Xavier know, and I'm like... And that was the moment when I'm like, Tiffany, you are not playing well right now. Sorry. I guess you can call that a sassy sip. Tiffany also tells Xavier about Kylan's multiple final twos that he has. He has one with her, he has one with Sarah Beth, he has one with Derek X. And I'm just starting to think, is the cookout starting to crumble a little? That would be... That wouldn't be boring. I'll tell you that. I don't know if I want it to happen, but if it does happen, I would not be bored watching it. That's what I will say. Okay, and here we go. Tiffany is mad that Sarah Beth called her an average chess player. Now, Tiffany, she has been shown to have a little bit of a propensity to get grumpy about seemingly minor things. Like we saw on the eviction episode that she said good morning to some people, and like, I mean, they were talking, so I don't think they heard her, but then she's just annoyed that they didn't hear her. And she was not happy about that. And I'm thinking, like, this might be the thing in the edit that will... Because they have to show how much Tiffany is going to want Sarah Beth out. They have to show it in Wednesday's episode. And I think that'll be the thing that makes her look so obsessed about it. Now, after all this, Tiffany and Claire did tell Derek X, do what you think is best, we'll support you. And I'm like, okay, maybe things are okay here. And then came the big thing where Tiffany was just leading the charge against Sarah Beth, and it was starting to turn into the grateful hate rally from season 21, where they were all just gathered in the HOH room and just like, we hate Nicole, we're gonna just ruin Nicole's game. That's what it was starting to remind me of, and I did not like it. I was getting some PTSD about that. I have tried to get myself to a point when I think about BB21, I try to think of the good moments. I think of Jessica's HOH week. I think of Nicole winning HOH on double eviction night and Cliff winning veto on a double eviction night, and they get Christy out. That's the stuff that I want to remember. Oh yeah, and Jack getting called out after he was eliminated, and Jackson being called out on finale night, among a few others, but yeah, that kind of ruined Jackson's joy at winning, which was kind of funny. There I go, saying his name. I was trying not to. But yeah, just seeing that, it took me back to the dark times of BB21, of which there were many. So, yeah, I did not like that. But even after all that, even with Tiffany saying she's going to flip the vote, Christian is still Darius's plan to be the renom. And then he wants to get Sarah Beth after. And, you know, I do get that Sarah Beth has kind of dug herself a little bit of a hole as far as targeting Hannah. But not before Christian. Christian is too big a threat, and they have the chance to get him. Especially with the fact that he was not playing in the veto. Excuse me. The veto players were Derek X, Sarah Beth, Brittany, obviously. And then it was Alyssa, Kyland, and Claire. And then the veto happens, and Brittany wins. Brittany is the first woman this season to win one of the main competitions, HOH and veto. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I would have preferred Sarah Beth, but I was still kind of happy for Brittany. Because she's been going through it, and like at first, like when I first heard who the veto players were gonna be, my first thought was I want Brittany to win. Let's just throw her a bone. And then I realized that Alyssa could use the veto on Sarah Beth, and then I'm like, I want Alyssa to win because this could be the funniest thing ever. And then I wanted Sarah Beth to win because I didn't like how precarious her position was. But Brittany won. Derek X earned himself a punishment. And I believe Claire and Kyland also have, but I don't think theirs have started yet. And, after all of it, it's like, Tiffany, she might still try to flip the vote, but Hannah and Claire say they'll respect Derek X's wishes. Hannah, I think, will. Claire, I'm still unsure, because she is very tight with Tiffany. But it also does seem like Claire is starting to catch on a little bit that there may be an alliance like the Cookout going on. And, so, Ozza and Derek F were talking, and apparently the way Alyssa was in the competition, like, she was kind of a sore loser. Like, they called her a baby about it. I'm like, okay, it seems like you two just want to talk smack all the time. And I'm just like, okay, you two, you just want to... Derek F and Ozza would be perfect talking about Big Brother, having, like, some kind of podcast, Twitch channel, that kind of thing. Because they don't really play much game in the house. But they talk about it a lot. Like, you two should just talk about Big Brother. I don't know if you should actually be on it because of the way you're not playing too great. But, even after all that, they still say they would prefer Christian be the one to leave over Alyssa. And then they become paranoid that one of them is going to be the renom. And I'm like, I get why Derek X didn't fill them in right away, but, you know, if he had told them, it may have brought some peace to the house. Now, Kyland, this was when I was starting... well, not really. I had seen people being like, what is Kyland doing? He's getting on my nerves. I'm like, I didn't really see it. I'm like, you're being too harsh to him. And then this was like, Kyland let Xavier in on the backdoor plan, and Xavier is on Christian's team, and I'm like, okay, Kyland, you probably should not be doing this. Kyland lets Xavier in, and Xavier says that if he does go through with that, Xavier doesn't really say no, but he's saying, like, I'm worried about it. Because he says that he can't protect Derek X if it doesn't work. And he worries that it would expose the Cookout. And this is the part where I'm like, Xavier, there aren't a lot of choices here. Derek X is not in the Cookout. Everyone in the Cookout seems to like him. Derek F is a little iffy, but everyone else seems to like him. But he's not in it. So he doesn't know, like, he's not in the Alliance, so he has no reason not to put up people in the Alliance. And then he starts, then he says this. I took a screenshot of it just to make sure I didn't forget. Xavier says to Kyland, if he puts up 2 kings, the royal flush would be done, and then what? At that point, we might be more in a position where we have to expose the 6. Okay, so it is literally either Royal Flush or Cookout. Brittany is the only person left in the house who is not in either alliance. And she won the veto. So, unless she decides not to save herself, she's off limits. So, Xavier, you literally have to decide right now, Royal Flush or Cookout. And it's like, why wouldn't you pick the Cookout? You know, this is like... The Cookout, they have been butting heads a lot for a few weeks now. And it's like... The Royal Flush was clearly a temporary thing. It was to position yourself to help keep yourself safe, but also try and, like, cover up the Cookout. But it couldn't last forever. And Christian is the biggest threat in the Cookout. And the second biggest threat in it is saying, well, I gotta take him out. So guess what that means, Xavier? That means you are in a better position going forward. Because there are less strong threats in the house. So, I feel like Xavier's trying to protect Royal Flush, Cookout, and the Kings. Like, dude, this is an individual game. You gotta let something go. Now, Tiffany and Kyland eventually talked, and they hadn't talked in a while. They'd just been kind of talking smack about each other, behind each other's back for a while. And, ooh, I forgot, Kyland said to Azah, you know, maybe Tiffany, like, he implied, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he implied, like, so Tiffany didn't tell us this kind of thing, or didn't tell me this thing. So, I think Kyland does not trust Tiffany fully, just as Tiffany does not trust him fully. And I'm thinking this could be the start of the fall of the Cookout. But eventually, Tiffany and Kyland do talk, and I feel like, because I have not really been loving either of their gameplay too much, because, I see why, like, I haven't been as gung-ho about, like, oh my god, Kyland's a terrible player now, but I've been like, he has been a little awkward in some of his talks. But seeing them talk to each other, it actually, like, kind of brought them both back to, like, the kind of gameplay that they had that I did like. Tiffany tells Kyland that she'll vote out Christian if it's what the Cookout wants. And there's a part of me that is thinking, okay, maybe Tiffany's on board. But then the other part of me is like, she knows how close Kyland is to Sarah Beth. So she could just be telling him this because it's what he wants to hear. So yeah, that was when I started to warm back up to Tiffany, and then came the thing where she was telling Hannah about her conspiracy theories about Sarah Beth and Kyland being a couple, and saying Sarah Beth is actually single, all that fun stuff. It's like, just stop. And then came the moment when Tiffany does one of her camera talks, and she says Christian is getting backdoored. And it seems like, at least for now, or at least as of when she said that, she is with Derek X's plan. And another thing she said that leads me to think she is on board with this, she suspects that Alyssa would not take it well, and I'm hoping she doesn't, because that will be fun to watch. Well, read about, because I won't be able to watch it tonight. I got my comedy class going on. But yeah, she says that Alyssa would probably nominate Derek X. Ugh. I hope you didn't just see that snot bubble I just blew. Oh, God. I never blow snot bubbles. And, of course, I do it while I'm streaming. And, anyway, she says... Alyssa would probably nominate Kyland and Derek X, which is a strong possibility. And in that case, Derek X would go home, unless Tiffany really decides she's had enough of Kyland. And then she's like, maybe I should take Alyssa out before Sarah Beth. And I'm like, okay. I prefer that, actually. And then that would really be like BB-17. Shelly and Clay, they were like the power couple in the house. And then last week before jury, they didn't have any power. And they got nominated. And they stayed on the block on eviction night. And Clay went home. And they were separated by jury. And they were separated by 1 week, too. Because, yeah. Oh, you can see it better, so it's not cut off by the chat thing. But yeah, that season, Clay was the last pre-juror, and then Shelly ended up being the first juror. Supposed to be Vanessa, but Becky was not capable of pulling off that big of a move. Yeah. And that would be... I wouldn't mind seeing that because I loved BB-17. That season, I don't think it could have gone any better than it did. It's without a doubt the best season I have watched, but BB-23 has potential to dethrone it. And we still got about 2 months left. But, a little less than 2 months. But, you know, I think it could still be fun. I think it could still beat it. And yeah, just seeing Christian be the last pre-juror and then Alyssa be the first juror, that'd just be like a nice little reminder of a great season. And maybe they'll take note of that, like, you know, you want to have a season that everyone likes, you gotta break up a showmance right before jury. Because the audience just eats that stuff up. Especially if the showmance had too much power. So, yeah, that's my notes. We had the episode last night, and, you know, there was really nothing too much that I hadn't already talked about. Like, I talked about the noms, talked about Christian being the backdoor plan. There was another segment where Derek F. and Ozza were in their room talking to each other, and I'm like, this is where you two always are. You know, like, you two should have just started a Big Brother podcast, or a YouTube show, or a Twitch show, and just talk about what's going on. Because they'd be so much better at that than actually playing the game, because they are both in that room all the time. And also we get a montage of Derek F. sleeping anywhere and everywhere, anytime. And it's funny, he'll just be motionless for a long time, and they won't even realize he's asleep. Because, like, sometimes he's just sitting there motionless, and then he says something. But then other times he's actually asleep. And he's always got his sunglasses on so they can't tell. That was kind of funny, actually. I gotta admit. It did kind of feel like they were picking on him, but, like, you know, at some point, he should, I mean, he straight up said that he's like an expert napper. So, you know, he's aware of it, so he's laughing with us, I guess. And Brittany, she gets nominated. She is a little emotional, but not as emotional as the first two times. Like, she was bawling the first two times. Here, she's just more, like, frustrated about it. It's almost like she's becoming used to it. I, I saw someone share a thing. It was, like, for the show, it was like a Photoshop thing. It was for the show Pawn Stars, but instead of the people on the show, they Photoshopped in Brittany, Johnny Mac from BB17, and Victoria from BB16, because they were always on the block. I don't know how Victoria took getting nominated as many times as she did, because I didn't watch that season, and frankly, I've had my fill of Franzel and Cody Cauliflower for the rest of my life. And I really never want to watch Frankie Grande for an extended period of time. But I don't know if Victoria was super emotional about it every single time. Johnny Mac, though, he had a great attitude. He's like, alright, guess I'm nominated. Guess I gotta get myself out of this one. I love Johnny Mac. Why didn't they bring him back for All Stars? Seriously. He would have been so much fun. I'd like to say I wish they brought him back instead of David, but I still feel that David deserved a shot. So, I don't know. Which of the guys? Memphis. They shouldn't have brought Memphis back. They should have brought Johnny Mac back. There. How about that? I mean, they shouldn't have brought Cody Cauliflower or Tyler Crispy back, but you know, they were going to. There was no way out of that one. Alright. Now is a part of my stream that I haven't even been able to do in a while, because I've had to stream while playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I should point at the TV a little better. Yeah, there we go. And, oh, I have some notifications. Well, I got a like for me talking about BB23 on Twitch, but I have no viewers. But thanks for the like, I still appreciate that. Hopefully I'll get my views on YouTube. Alright. Alright. Looks like I'm checking the hashtag. Yeah, some people are making an interesting point that Christian used his HOH to get out someone with 0 allies. And, well, it says 0 comp wins, but Whitney actually had 1. She became the team captain of the Aces. Yeah, Aces. And then a week later, he's being sent home. Because, yeah, Whitney did not have much of a social game in the house. But she was good with puzzles because maybe she does puzzles with her kids. Oh, yeah. Derek X. Who, by the way, his punishment is he's Lord of the Latrine. And he just basically has to announce to everyone when, like, he just has to announce when someone is using the bathroom. And I'm just like, this is a punishment for everybody. I would hold it as long as I could. I would hold it until, what was it from Seinfeld? I got uromycetitis poisoning. But anyway, someone pointed out how, because Derek X and Tiffany were talking while Tiffany was in the shower, and someone made a BB-21 reference to probably the most cringe moment of that season that was not super racist or otherwise problematic. Was when Tommy was talking to Christy while she was in the shower, and he's like, "You can always look at me and see home." And she's like, "What?" And then he has to repeat it 2 more times. Like, that was the worst thing ever. Like, that was the most offensive, not offensive part of BB-21, if that makes any sense. Just reading a thing here. It's from a BuzzFeed article. Some guy worked on Big Brother. Says that it's actually inside of a huge warehouse, which we kind of knew. I mean, it's more like a set. And they silently lead contestants there with a black bag over their head. And because of the camera alleys, anyone working on the show can just wander behind the walls and watch the contestants in any room. I will never understand why people apply to be on that show. It looks stressful AF. Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you signed up for it. You know about all the cameras. So like, you know what you signed up for, honestly. Alright, BB Daily, what do you got for me? Anything new? It's kind of early, they might not be up yet. Yeah. Nothing yet. $11:59 here, which means it's 8:59 a.m. there. They could still be in bed. They tend to stay up late. I mean, on Saturday, the veto, it didn't start until, like, 7 p.m. for them, I think. Like, it took so much longer in the day for it to happen, and then it was a very long competition. I stayed up until 2 a.m. waiting to find out who won that thing, and then I'm just finally like, screw it, I'm going to bed. And then, of course, like 2:15 is when the results came out. Well, you're welcome, everybody who stayed up. Me going to bed revealed it for everybody. But yeah, apparently it was the one where, like, it's like a Yankee swap where they can just take whatever prize they want the further they place in the competition. It was like usually the first one out gets the veto, but they never keep it. Like the first or second one out gets the veto. But yeah, I think that will just about do it. I don't have any viewers here on Twitch, but if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope this setup worked, because it's either this or I go back to trying to play Red Dead Redemption 2, or just playing a video game and trying to look at my phone at the same time, and like, it's hard. It's hard to do. And like my last one, I got really frustrated trying to do it. But yes, that will do it for this stream. And I will see you next time, and I think, odds are, we might get some fireworks today. If and when Christian finds himself on the block. I look forward to reading these updates on the train home tonight. Alright, see you next time.